Hello, freaks, geeks, degenerates, and basement dwellers. Welcome to the Warzone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And things on the front line, they're moving slow, but so not much has happened since last time we made a video, but why not? Let's make another video. And let's take a look at Ukraine advancing along the front line, why that is, and why the Russians are struggling in gaining territory. And we're going to remind ourselves also just how little the Russians have gained and how well the Ukrainians have defended themselves in this war. Right, so I just want to take a quick look here. This is a pro-Russian mapper, AMK Mapping. He has done YouTube collaborations with all the fun boys over on the Vatnik end of things. Willie OAM, History Legends, Caliber, hardcore pro-Russians. And so this is his map, and he's done collaborations with us. So we're going to take a look. We can see here, shows what the Russian mappers are showing. This potential pincer move up here. We zoom in on what happened now. Here we go, Konstantinivka. You can see here he has most of Konstantinivka under Russian control and stuff like that. I'm not sure what's happening here with the map. So since he is pro-Russian and showing what's going on here, it's not doing what I want to. So we can see a couple of interesting things here. Ukraine pushing here in the center. We can see here that the Ukraine is moving in on Kamyansk. And we can also see here how Ukraine is, according to this map, pushing in quite extensively on this salient here, and it's almost cut off here along this road here. Quite interesting to see a pro-Russian source showing us this, as well as Ukraine advancing and securing territory in and around Lyman altogether. And moving down here, I think this is an interesting, we're seeing Ukraine, this is where Ukraine has had the most success, especially between Pokrovsk and the front line, Pokrovsk even. Ukraine has been pushing the Russians back by a fair margin in this area, and they keep advancing, and they're currently pushing in towards Komar, and that puts them really close to Velika Novosilka. And this is where the front line was in 2023. The front line went from north of Poloy to south of Velika Novosilka over to Volodar. And as you can see, Ukraine is not far away from reaching Velika Novosilka, where the front line was in 2023. That's interesting if you ask me. But I am a bit curious why this is. Why is Ukraine able to advance along this section of the front line in the way they've done down here? They're pushing in here quite clearly. And why is that? Because we're seeing the Russians putting all the effort in here, and we've also seen Ukraine trying to push down this way, but they're not pushing as strongly as they're doing here in the center. And I think the reason is Russia is hell-bent on pushing into Konstantinivka here, and they probably want to reach Dobropelia, and they're also, I think, focusing on holding the line here, because as we've discussed before, if Ukraine can break through here, it puts Kherson Oblast at risk, since this area it's a narrow stretch of land where the Ukrainians can actually isolate Kherson Oblast. So I think the Russians are focusing forces here to hold the Ukrainians at bay, and they're also allocating resources to this fight at Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk, and pushing into the fortress belt. And I think this leaves a gap. They don't have enough resources to hold the line while reinforcing this area, and this opens up for Ukraine to advance. I don't think it's a grand strategy of Ukraine to pushing down here and then going down to Mariupol or coming up behind Pokrovsk. I think it's an opportunity, and they're exploiting it and gaining ground because of it. but it fills a purpose. So even if you might think it doesn't really have a strategic purpose pushing in there because it's too far from any important objectives, and it's going to take too long to reach Pokrovsk from behind or pushing down to Mariupol. But what it does do is Russia is losing ground. Russia is losing territory. Russia at some point can't allow that. That means Russia will eventually allocate resources from other parts of the front line to prevent this Ukrainian push. That might weaken the Russians down here south of Zaporizhia, allowing the Ukrainians to push through at some point. We've been talking about 2027 in the past. It also might force the Russians, like I said, moving troops and assets from Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk down here, and will slow down this push even further. And on top of that, as we've seen, Ukraine is pushing in here, according to pro-Russian sources, threatening this Russian bulge here at Lyman. So the Russians are struggling at Lyman, they're struggling here in the middle, and I think they're super focused on this battlefield and also holding the line here, and that they don't have enough resources and manpower to hold the line here in the middle, as it were. And I think Ukraine is exploiting that. They're pushing in, liberating territory, and hoping this will draw attention from these quote-unquote more important battle lines, front lines, weakening the Russian push into the fortress belt and weakening Russia's ability to defend in Zaporizhia, and that might allow the Ukrainians to push through in 2027, 2028. And here we have a map by Clement Moulin, a French guy that specializes in gathering intel on fortifications and what have you. And what we're looking at is the fortress belt and the Syrskyi line. Now, the fortress belt is located here. Hopefully you can see this blue, and comes down here. And down here is where you have Konstantinivka, and this is where you have the fortress belt with the Syrskyi line right behind it. Right here, and then over down here, the green, I hope you can see the green here, this is where you have Dobropilya, and here is where you have Pokrovsk and Mirnorad. So you can see the absolute, I mean, the just how incredibly dense the Ukrainian fortifications are in this area, and the Russians are hoping, I mean, and this is of course the fortress belt where you have multiple towns and cities that have grown into a massive urban fortified line on top of the defenses that Ukraine has built. And as you can see, I mean, the Russians have barely made any headway out of Pokrovsk towards the Dobropilya, for good reason. If you take a look at all of the defenses here, you can see Russia's pushed into Konstantinivka, but barely made any headway up here. And again, quite clearly why that is. You have all of these defensive line all over the place. And that is why this will take years and years and years for Russians to break through here. Now, you might be wondering though and seeing something that, what if the Russians come up this way? Because here you have clearly not as many defensive lines compared to here in the fortress belt and Dobropilya. Well, the Russians have tried to come through this way, and they did it in 2025. This is where the bunny years ended up, where the Russians tried to push up to the east of Dobropilya and break through the Syrskyi line. As we all know, it failed. And just, was it 2 weeks ago, Russia tried to move a large armored force through Shakove down here. Again, it failed. And just a couple of days ago, they tried another huge column of vehicles moving up through here, got schwacked within Russian territory, or Russian occupied territory, I should say. So if this is, by all accounts, the weakest point in the Ukrainian line, and Russia has completely failed pushing through here. So what chance do they stand of pushing through here and through the lines here at Dobropelia? So yeah, just because Konstantinivka eventually will end up in Russian control doesn't mean this entire area falls apart. Russia spent a year at the outskirts of this formidable defensive line. Pushed in, they spent thousands of their most powerful bombs on pushing into Konstantinivka. It took them a year. They still haven't taken the town, and they're just scratching the outskirts of this defensive line. They spent over a year at Pokrovsk. They spent over a year at Konstantinivka. God knows how many people have died trying to push into these two towns, Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka. And this is just the perimeter of this formidable defensive line, where you have the fortress belt supported by the Syrsky line behind it. This is going to take years, and this is going to break the Russian army. I am certain of it. And I think it's important to remind everyone that this is not a one-sided battle. This is not Russia that just advances and advances and keeps pushing the Ukrainians back. In 2022, Russia occupied roughly 30% of Ukraine, but the thing is they held 8% before that with the rebels in Donbass and Crimea. So that means that in 2022, Russia added an additional 22% of occupied territory. But at the end of the year, Ukraine had pushed the Russians back in 5 oblasts and liberated 12% of their territory, which means Russia had only gained 10. They have liberated 12%, and Russia had only gained 10% of Ukrainian territory. So Ukraine had regained more ground in 2022 than they had lost since the invasion. And of course, in 2023, they launched a big summer offensive. Sadly, it failed. But what happened in 2024? They launched the assault into Kursk. And in 2025, they built their entire 2025 strategy on holding Pokrovsk, and at this town, they annihilated the Russian army. And in 2026, we're seeing Ukraine advancing at various locations along the front line. Lyman, here in between Pokrovsk and Huliapol, and over south of Zaporizhia. And of course, they have also isolated Crimea, and Russia is slowly but surely abandoning Crimea. So this is not a one-sided affair. Ukraine has regained a lot of territory. And since 2023, Russia has only managed to occupy an additional 2% of Ukrainian territory. So in 3 years' time, all they've achieved with is securing 2% of Ukrainian territory. And after they took Avdiivka, they spent the entirety of 2024 trying to push towards Pokrovsk. And what they achieved in that year, pushing from Avdiivka to Pokrovsk, was to occupy an area the size of Luxembourg. Indicated by the dark green circle here. That tiny country is Luxembourg. And Russia needed a full year to secure it. For comparison, Germany managed to occupy Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Belgium in 20 days. And a couple of months later, they had taken France. But Russia has needed a full year to push through an area the size of Luxembourg. And YouTubers got a YouTube, so if you enjoy my content, even though it's been a bit repetitive of late, why not like, share, subscribe, and maybe buy me a coffee, you never know. But yeah, that's it, and thank you for any support you might give. And that's it for this time around. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.